Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and I hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Thursday morning, also known as Almost Friday. If you are joining me live here on Behance this morning, let me know, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm streaming live right now from sunny Los Angeles, and if you are joining me, throw it in the chat. I always love hearing. Let me take this AirPod out of my ear. I don't need that anymore. But I always love hearing where people are all around the world. And a big good morning to Blanca and Barbara and Christoph and Stephen, Alan and Serafin, Travis, Luca and Siddharth, Ariana, everyone else who's joining me. If I mispronounce any of your names, I truly apologize. But we've got Daniel from Denver, Colorado, Lucas from Italy, and Carolina from Brazil. Siddharth is from India. It's in midnight in India. I can't believe some people stay up to watch me at midnight. That's crazy, but thank you. Really do appreciate that. So today is day number 8. Day number 8 of the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. That means tomorrow it all comes to an end. But there will be another one in May in just a few weeks. And if you've been following us on Twitter, May is going to be a very exciting month. Just a recap before we really dive into this. Andrew Shorten on Twitter, A Shorten, has been sneaking a bunch of things coming in May. And everything I'm about to tell you is coming in May. Let me actually, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to show you the list on Twitter. Let me hop over to, here we go. Where's my Twitter profile? Let me hop over to my screen. Here we go. So here is the list of the stuff coming in May. Everything on this list is coming in just a few weeks. Fully linked assets. So not, previously you can link symbols between documents. Now you'll be able to link your colors, your character styles, and your components. And speaking of components or symbols are now components. They're resizable. You can override pretty much any property within the instances. And I'm going to be getting a lot deeper into components come May. And Christoph says, just so you know, your hairdo looks as fabulous as Christine's. I tried. I mean, I don't have a lot to work with, but I can do something with it. Keyboard and gamepad triggers are coming in May. So you'll be able to use shortcut keys on your keyboard. You'll also be able to use your game controllers, Xbox, PS4, whatever it might be. So if you're an indie game developer or you're developing desktop applications, this is going to be big. Artboard guides, need we say more? Polygon tool, and more text transformations, uppercase, lowercase, title case, that sort of thing. All coming in May. That's going to be a big update. And we're going to continue to sprinkle in new features throughout the year. And obviously Adobe Max is going to be a massive release as well. So what do we have planned for today? If you haven't been to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge landing page, definitely go there. Alan's asking if I have an Xbox. I do. I haven't used it in a while, but it's around somewhere. You can join us on Discord. Usually this is a nice big blue register button at the top, but since everything is kind of coming to an end tomorrow, you can join us on Discord, but registrations will open again. And if you are into Photoshop, next week we kick off another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So if you're brand new, how does this thing work? Well, every single day you're going to receive a challenge, and then you're going to be joining me somewhat early, at least Pacific time, 11:30 in the morning, to kick off what that challenge is. And then you're going to be using Behance to design and prototype, you're going to share your design and prototype on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And then it all comes to a close tomorrow, which, by the way, tomorrow is April 26th, not April 29th, but I believe, we give you a few extra days to upload the stuff because after April 29th, this page will change to the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. And we are working on ways on how we can archive some of the older challenges so you can go back at any point and take a look at some of that stuff. But right now, they'll change every 2 weeks. If you haven't done so already, grab XD, it's free. Join us on Discord. Here's our Discord server right over here. We got about 2,400 people in here. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do for a living. If you're a brand new UI or UX designer, we'd love to hear that stuff. You can give feedback, get feedback, ask questions. It's a good time in Discord. And for today's challenge, we are tackling an interactive map experience. And this says, design and prototype an interactive map for a traveler. Allow the user to pin favorite locations and try experimenting with techniques from week number 1. And just to kind of recap what we've tackled so far, we started last week with a drop-down menu, went to an upload file experience, pagination, social share, leaderboard, calculator, send cache, and interactive map. And I would really love to see, I don't know if this is possible, but I'm going to challenge all of you for like the ultimate challenge. I want to see one project, one maybe mobile or desktop application that contains all of this stuff. If someone can do that, send me a tweet at Pinsky and I will retweet the heck out of that because I think that'd be really cool. And we have one more challenge tomorrow, but all of this stuff I would like to see in one application. That's your challenge after this challenge. If you have a little bit of time before the next challenge, that's what you're gonna do. So very quickly, I wanna highlight 2 designs that kind of really stood out to me over the last few days. This one was not from yesterday, but this was the calculator application, and this was put together by Andy. If you are in, not that Andy, but if another Andy, if you are in the chat, let us know. And this just stood out. There's no prototype here, but it's just, I think the colors look really cool. They're very unique. They're different. And I would kind of like to see something like this on an application. I would probably use this calculator application. It's a day and night mode calculator, which I thought was sort of cool. And then we have Drew McDowell. He put together this interactive prototype using yesterday's wallet send cache application. And I thought one thing that really stood out to me is, all this stuff is not kind of nice, but when he actually goes to send the cache, as you're going to see in a moment, he has this really interesting, there he goes, this drag animation where you can drag this up to confirm, and then it sends the cache. I thought that was kind of cool. So great job, Drew. Alrighty, so now what we're doing today, we are going to be tackling an interactive map experience using Adobe XD. So grab this template, hop over to Adobe XD, and maybe design alongside me. So here's the template for today. Again, interactive map. There's a lot of elements you can use. I did cover a lot of this stuff last week, early in the week. If you're brand new to XD, definitely check out those videos. You can also go to letsxd.com for more stuff. And then we have a bunch of different elements that kind of relate to a map experience. Luca's saying on mine shows smart TV movie rental. Does it? Oh boy, someone published it too early. So here's some templates you can get started with. Here's also some inspiration. There we go. Google Maps. We've all used Google Maps before, Apple Maps, Navigo, that sort of thing. And if you want to grab a UI kit, you can grab this UI kit right here, download it to your computer, and you can have a bunch more elements to use for your map experience. All right, so we're going to get going. I'm going to start by grabbing my artboard tool over here to the left, and let's go ahead and create an iPhone 10 XR, 10, I don't know, the bunch of letters and stuff, iPhone 10R and 10S Max. So we're going to start with that, and obviously in the background we need a map. Now, we could go ahead and just grab this map that was provided in this template, but that's no fun. I want to show you a few other ways you can grab maps. The first way is with a plugin. So I'm going to start by just dragging out a rectangle across my artboard just like this. I don't need a border. I'm going to turn that off. And then under the plugins menu, and if you're on Windows, it's hiding on the left under the hamburger menu, you're going to go to Discover Plugins, and there is a plugin. If I just type in, map, there's a Maps Generator plugin. So go ahead and install that, and that will allow you to launch the plugin from your plugins menu. And here it is right here. You have to have an object or a shape selected, which I do. I have the rectangle. And let's go ahead and type in an edge or a location. Let me know in the chat, give me a location that I should type in. And the first one that types that in, I will pop it in this maps generator and we're gonna run with that one. So I'll just sit here and wait. Shouldn't be too long before a location gets popped. There's a little bit of a delay on YouTube and Behance streaming, but by the time I finish talking, somebody will have typed a location into the chat, hopefully a location on Earth, because I don't believe this map generator can do locations other than that. There we go. Italy, so Naples. Thank you, Luca. I don't wonder if I just type in Naples if it'll work. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Now I have a bunch of places dropping in the chat. We'll do a roadmap. We don't want to pin at this point because we're going to make our own and generate. Let's see if that works. This is probably not Naples, Italy. This looks, there's a CVS there. Yeah, this is probably not Naples, Italy. Let's try that one more time. Naples, Italy. I might be even spelling that incorrectly, but you know, let's see what happens. Ah, that one looks better. This looks more Italian to me. All right, so we're gonna go with this. This is the map that we're gonna be using. But you can also, if you want, you can hop over to Snazzy Maps. I think I learned about this on an Adobe Live session. Snazzymaps.com allows you to generate maps in all different styles. So if you want to go for like an Adobe XD pink, you can do that. And there's like dark mode maps and Assassin's Creed maps, Lost in the Desert maps. So go there. I think this is, if I had more time, I would probably generate something using Snazzy Maps, but for now, we're gonna stick with this. All right, so now on this screen, there's a few things we wanna add here. We wanna add a bar at the bottom. We wanna add an icon to drag our pin out. We probably want a search bar at the top so you can search for locations. So we're gonna start with that. We're gonna drag one out across here. Let me zoom in so we can see what we're doing. And I'm a big fan of rounded corners, so I'm just gonna grab those handles, drag them in a little bit. I do want a little bit of a border, just so it separates from the background just a touch. And this is probably a little bit too wide, so I'm just gonna bring that in. I do wanna make sure not to put anything up here, because that's where the iPhone notch is. So I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate, but you could grab a template like this and make sure everything's perfectly aligned. There we go. Now we need some icons. So maybe on the left, we're gonna have a search icon, and on the right, we might have a voice icon. So I'm gonna hop over here to the icons that are provided in this template, grab this icon, grab this one, copy, head back over here and paste. Boop. There we go. I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger because they're a touch small. And the search icon's gonna pop right over here to the left, the voice icon over here to the right. And once everything is nicely in place, that looks pretty good, I'll just drop the color just a little bit. Perfect. And I'm gonna make sure to group all these elements in my layers panel, Command and Control G. That way everything is nice and organized. All right, now down here at the bottom, we're gonna have a few elements. We're gonna do some sort of a fun drag interaction if we do have time. So I'm gonna grab my rectangle, drag this up just like that. I do want the corners a little bit, I do want the corners a little bit rounded, but not the bottom corner. So I'm gonna hold down Alt-Option and just drag these handles downward. Samuel's asking if there's a way to default shapes without a border. Not at the moment. I would love to see that. I believe the border is added because if you have a plain white artboard and you drag out a rectangle, it's also gonna be white, so you're gonna kind of lose it against the artboard. So it kind of, you know, bounces it or whatever. But I believe that's why it's there, but I would love to see some sort of a default so you can change that as, you know, based on your personal preference. All right, so there we go. Now maybe for this one, we actually want some sort of a fancy grading because this is kind of gonna go down here and it's gonna be like the, what's nearby sort of thing. So I'll put that down at the bottom. And for the gradient, I'm gonna choose a linear gradient. We'll have a little bit of a diagonal gradient kind of going off the artboard and off the shape here. And then maybe on this side, we're gonna have, let's say a lighter blue. That looks okay. And then on this side, maybe a darker blue with a little bit of purple. That looks pretty good right there. It's probably not perfect, but I'll keep it at that for now. And then inside here, we're just gonna type out what's nearby. I'll make that, let's say medium, possibly, maybe demi-bold or semi-bold. That looks pretty good. We'll go for white and make this a little bit larger so we can see it. All right, I'm gonna hop over here. We do have an icon of some sort of a radar nearby icon. Pop that over here beside this, change it to white. Let me move this down so I can see it, change it to white. Perfect. Alrighty. So we're moving along, we're getting there. We're grabbing some elements, designing some things, running out of time. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another element in the background. So I'm just going to actually grab this rectangle, duplicate it, and this one is actually going to go on top of all this stuff. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger. This one's just going to be white, solid color, white. I'm going to add a little bit of a border. And then in here, we want some nearby locations. So very quickly, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, draw out a rectangle like this. This will be one location, at least the image of that location. And then below it, we're going to type out location name, although I can't see it. There we go. Now I can see it. We'll set that to, let's say, medium. Perfect. That looks good. And maybe below, this will be, let's say, 4.5 stars. Ideally, I would probably actually create the stars, but, you know, we're running out of time. There we go. And then below, we'll say it's open, and it is how far away? 2.1 miles away. Great. And maybe, you know, the open text will be a nice green. A little bit darker so you can see it against the white background. And that looks good about there. Perfect. Now the final thing I want to do in this card is actually add some sort of a direction icon. So I am using Nucleo. I'm just going to drag this icon into Adobe XD. And it is vector, so we can go ahead and change the color, we can change the shape, we can change whatever we need, and just move that into place so they can very easily get directions. All right, with all that stuff done, I'm going to grab all these elements and turn it into a repeat grid. Just like this, right at the top, repeat grid, boop, there we go. Drag these down so we have a few additional cards on this artboard. Perfect. Now, hopping over to Finder, what I'm going to do, I have a bunch of images from Adobe Stock. I'm simply going to grab these images, drag them onto any of them, and it's automatically going to load all those in, and now we have a bunch of different locations. Perfect. Now what we want to do, we want to make sure everything's grouped. And this is very important because we're going to start animating this thing, and one of these cards is going to start off of the artboard. So we have the repeat grid, and we have the location, we have nearby, and we have this rectangle, which we're going to group with the repeat grid. So we're going to group that, and this will be locations. Perfect. Let me hide that. We also want to group all of this stuff. This will be nearby. And I'm also going to group all of this stuff, and this will be bottom bar. Because this will allow me to grab this locations thing, whatever you want to call it, and move it right down off of the artboard like this. Perfect. All right, so now that both of those elements are created, let's go ahead and actually add an interaction. So I'm going to grab this artboard. Actually, you know what? One more thing before we go ahead and do this. We're going to add one more icon right here at the bottom. This is going to be for the pin, which we're going to drag out in a moment. So I'm going to do that, add a little bit of a shadow, not too harsh, just there, just to pop it out from the background. And I'm going to grab this pin icon right there, copy it. Whoops. Head over here, paste it, boop, there we go. Make it a little bit larger. And I might want to sample, let's say, this color right here. Perfect. Again, group all this stuff, and this will be called pin. All right, so now for our first interaction, what we're going to be doing is, let's say when a user drags out this bar from the bottom, it's going to reveal some of the stuff that's nearby. But before I do that, I want to make this a little bit larger. Just drag that out just a touch. It's a little bit too small. And just thinking things through, there's also that home indicator at the bottom on iOS, so you want to make sure that nothing is down there, at least nothing that can be dragged. But for now, I'll just leave it like this. All right, now I'm going to duplicate this artboard over to the right. I can also select an artboard and Command or Control D. Then I'm going to start dragging some of this stuff up, but I don't want the entire thing showing. I kind of want some sort of like a parallax effect. So I'm going to drag this up just like that, and then grab just the nearby group and drag that down a little bit. And maybe I'll want this one a little bit higher so we see all of it. And I have to go in here and adjust this down at the bottom. Perfect, that looks good. Nearby is down here, so it's not right at the top. And then here, we want to make sure to go back in here and fix this as well. All right, so now that we have both states complete, let's actually wire this thing up. So I'm gonna go to the prototype mode. And in this case, I want a user to be able to drag this bottom bar at the bottom. And so I'm gonna select that, drag this over to the second artboard, and then select drag. Auto animate is gonna be the default option. If you've never used auto animate before, in this case, XD is gonna look at what has changed between this artboard and this artboard. It's gonna realize that the nearby groups have kind of moved up, so it's gonna animate those changes. So now if I press the play button at the top right, I can drag this up, and you're noticing there's a little bit of a parallax effect going on, right? So they're not all kind of moving at the same speed. What's nearby is kind of hiding because we don't need to see that. We really want to focus on some of the cards in the foreground, right? So that looks pretty good. And we may also want this pin icon to move up with that as well, so we always have access to that pin just in case you want to drop a pin. And then I can go ahead and grab this group again, drag it back over here so I can have that drag animation work in both directions. So I can drag this up. You're noticing the pin icon also moves. Now I can drag it down to reverse it. That looks pretty fancy, right? And what you can also do is you can get even fancier is if you go to the repeat grid over here. So this repeat grid, if you adjust the spacing, you pull things out quite a bit, and then you pull this up, you're gonna notice those cards are gonna slowly kind of come in. So they're spaced out and then they kind of slowly come in. You can do the same thing when you're going down. I probably don't want it as drastic, so I'm gonna just move it just a little bit up like this. And there we go. So it's a very subtle effect. Looks really nice. Now the final thing I want to do is from this screen, I might want to drop a pin. So one more time, I'm going to duplicate this artboard over here to the right. And I might want a user to drop a pin somewhere on this map. So this will be, I'm going to grab this pin here, drag this up, and let's say we want to pop it right about, I don't know what any of these places are. Maybe we'll pop it right about here. Just like that. Maybe make it a little bit larger. Perfect. And then from here, we don't want the pin to just kind of, well, we want the pin to stay there, but we also want the pin to kind of go back. So we're going to have a time transition. So we're going to duplicate this artboard over to the right. And then we're going to essentially, actually, you know what? We're going to duplicate, what are we going to do? Yeah, we're going to duplicate this over to the right, and we're going to put the pin back. So I'm just going to grab the pin from here and go in here and put the pin right back. So now that we have two pins, we have this one up here and we have this one back in its normal place. So just like we did before, we're going to add a drag transition or drag trigger. So I'm going to select this pin right here. I don't want to select the entire group because that entire group will not move, but just the pin will move. So I want to select just the pin, drag this over to this artboard here. It's going to be another drag transition. So at this point, I can drag the pin over to this location and pop it in place. But obviously we want it now to transition to the next artboard. So with the entire third artboard selected, I'm going to drag the blue handle, this one right here, over to the fourth artboard. Now it's important to note that for time triggers, this one right here, you have to have an entire artboard selected and not an individual element. And I want a 0-second delay because I want that animation to take place immediately. I'll do auto animate and we'll do easing. Let's go for ease in and out, 0.4 seconds. So let's see if this works. It may work, it may not work because we have duplicate layers, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to drag this up to the top, pop it in place, and it basically a new pin kind of fades in right at the bottom. And then at this point, we would need probably a few more things. So if one, let's say we wanted, let's say that location was this one here, just that location there. We'll move these two objects up, just like that, and we'll move nearby down a little bit. Perfect. All right, let's see this in action. So what have we done today? Well, basically we have this nearby section at the bottom. We can drag this up to see all the locations nearby. We can drag it down, and we can also drag a pin to a location, and we have a nearby, well, you know what? I gotta fix this. Almost had it proper. Drag that down, there we go. Now it should work. So now if I drag this pin to a location, it's gonna pop up that location that's nearby, just that location, not all the other ones, and the pin is going to go back into place. So that will just about do it for today. Day number 8 of the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. Definitely stick around for day number 9 tomorrow. We'll figure out why day number 9 kind of populated on that page in just a few minutes, but I'll see you all tomorrow morning, and stick around. Milo and Melody are coming up in just a few minutes working in Adobe XD. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.